Welcome to the uninvited ones. We like to believe that our lives are our own, that the four walls of our bedrooms, the routines of our commutes, and the privacy of our digital lives are impenetrable. But safety is often just an illusion, a thin veil that can be torn away by someone who was never meant to be there. Tonight, we share 3 accounts from individuals who realized too late that they were no longer alone. These are not stories of ghosts or monsters. These are the accounts of the uninvited, those who watch from the shadows of a closet, those who track your every move from a parked sedan, and those who turn a trusted connection into a living nightmare. In tonight's episode, a college student discovers her boyfriend is selling her privacy to a predator, only to realize the nightmare didn't end with his arrest. A quiet weekend in rural California turns into a waking terror when a young woman wakes up to find 2 figures standing over her with a heavy carving knife. And a graphic designer moves across the state to escape a stalker, only to find a chilling note inside her new home that proves nowhere is far enough. Lock your doors, turn down the lights, and whatever you do, make sure your blinds are closed.
I've debated whether to put this online, but I need it documented somewhere. This happened my sophomore year at a school in the Northeast. I won't say which. My name is Annabel. I'm an English major with a 3.7 GPA because I'm aiming for law school after graduation. That context matters for what comes next. Last semester, I enrolled in this upper-level course on English Romanticism. Maybe 25 students, mostly juniors and seniors. The TA, Vincent, yes, that was his actual name, ran the discussion sections. Late 20s, lanky, gave off this I'm in a band but not a good one energy. Participation was dead most days. People would just sit there and wait for Vincent to fill the silence, which he hated. There was one guy who kept things alive, though. Anthony, tall, brown hair, in one of the most influential frats on campus. He had this way of cracking jokes at just the right moment to break tension. And he actually did the reading, so the humor felt earned. Not a class clown, just present. Since I needed participation for my GPA, I ended up being one of the only people who talked regularly. Usually me, Anthony, and maybe 2 others carrying the discussion. Vincent seemed to appreciate it. For my first essay on ambiguity in Wordsworth's Tintin Abbey, he wrote these long and detailed comments in the margins. Not just corrections, actual agreement. After that, he started paying more attention, calling on me more, making eye contact for long stretches. At first, I told myself I was imagining it. Around the same time, I started running into Anthony outside class. Our sorority and his frat had a lot of overlap. Mixers, date nights, same parties. We ended up talking more. After a few weeks, he asked if I wanted to grab dinner. We went on maybe 3 dates before things progressed. He was sweet, attentive. I wasn't head over heels, but I liked him. Uncomplicated, low maintenance. One afternoon after class, I saw Anthony standing behind the lecture hall smoking a cigarette with Vincent. They were talking like they knew each other, which struck me as weird. I didn't even know Anthony smoked. When I asked him about it later, he laughed and said he was trying to get on Vincent's good side, so he wouldn't have to try as hard toward the end of the semester. I told him that was pathetic. He said he'd take pathetic over a bad grade any day. A few weeks later, I came back to his room after he'd fallen asleep. His phone was lying next to him with a YouTube video playing. I know I shouldn't have looked, but curiosity got the better of me. I went through his phone. In a hidden, password-protected folder, I found a collection of photos of me. A lot of them. Some benign, me studying or walking to class. But others were suggestive. Some I'd sent him. Others were taken through my window. Private moments I never knew were being watched. I wasn't mad, mostly creeped out. If he just asked for most of them, I probably wouldn't have been opposed. I didn't wake him up that night. I just went back to sleep, not really knowing how to feel. I kept things to myself, partly because I was embarrassed, but partly because I didn't want him to know I'd snooped. A week later, after he'd fallen asleep again, I guessed his password, just his birthday reversed. This time I went deeper. I checked his messages, his deleted photos, everything. And I found something horrifying. He'd been sending photos of me, those photos, to an unsaved number regularly for weeks. Basically the entire time we'd been seeing each other. I was shaking. I emailed the photos of his screen to myself first, making sure I had proof. Then I started to cry. I slapped him awake and demanded to know who the number belonged to. He stumbled through this ridiculous story about how it was just his backup phone, how he liked copies of everything in case his main phone got lost. I knew instantly that was bullshit. I stormed out before he could convince me to stay. I won't get into the immediate aftermath. Just know it was the worst week of my life. The unknown number belonged to Vincent. Police got involved. Anthony confessed pretty quickly once they started pressing him. Vincent had been paying him hundreds of dollars for photos. The whole thing had been going on since our very first date, maybe longer. Anthony got expelled. Vincent got fired. I know they were both convicted, but I never showed up for the sentencing. I couldn't bear to see their faces again. I just wanted it to be over. That was 2 years ago. I'm a senior now, almost done with school. I thought everything was behind me. But a few weeks ago, I started noticing something. There's this black SUV parked outside my sorority late at night. Not every night, but enough that I've started paying attention. I haven't seen anyone get in or out. I don't know if it's one of them. I'm probably being paranoid, but it's freaking me out. And I'm not sure how they'd even know I live here now. I moved into the house after the Anthony situation. I'm still not sure I should be sharing this, but I need someone else to confirm I'm not losing my mind. This happened 3 months ago in my parents' house in rural Southern California. I'm 22, still living at home while I save up to move to the Bay Area for work. The house sits on about 4 acres of redwood and Douglas fir, closest neighbor maybe half a mile down a gravel road. My dad built most of it himself back in the 90s, 2 bedrooms, open kitchen, 1 bathroom. My room's at the end of a short hallway off the living room. The walls are thin. You can hear everything. That's important. My parents left on a Friday morning for a weekend camping trip up near Shasta. They do it every few months. I was fine with it, had the place to myself, no real plans. I made dinner, watched a couple hours of The Office reruns, then went to bed around 11:30. Normal Friday night. Before I got into bed, I did what I always do. Checked that the front door was locked, turned off the living room lamp, brushed my teeth. My closet door was shut. I'm certain of that because I have this thing where I can't sleep if it's even slightly open. It's been that way since I was a kid. I pulled it closed all the way, heard the latch click, then climbed into bed. I woke up to nothing. No sound, no movement. Just that feeling you get when your brain pulls you out of sleep for no reason. The room was dark except for the blue glow from my phone charger on the nightstand. I reached for my phone to check the time. 2:47 a.m. That's when I saw it. The closet door was open. Not all the way, maybe 6 inches. Just enough to show a sliver of black inside. My chest went tight. I didn't move. My first thought was that I'd forgotten to latch it properly, that it had swung open on its own. But the door is heavy. It doesn't just drift. And I know I closed it. I could still hear the click in my head. I told myself to go back to sleep, that I was being paranoid, but my heart was pounding too hard. My mouth had gone dry. I unlocked my phone and turned on the flashlight. I didn't sit up. I just angled it toward the foot of the bed, sweeping it slowly across the room. The light hit the closet first, empty. Then I moved it toward the window. But as the beam swung back toward the center of the room, that's when I saw them. 2 figures, standing right at the edge of my bed, right next to my feet. They were just shapes at first. Dark clothes, maybe hoodies. One taller than the other. The light caught their faces for maybe half a second. Pale. No details, just the whites of their eyes. They weren't moving. They were just standing there, looking down at me. I didn't scream. I didn't even breathe. My brain couldn't process it fast enough. Then they bolted. Both at once, like they'd been waiting for me to notice. They didn't say anything. Just turned and ran. I heard their footsteps pounding down the hallway. Heavy and fast. I heard the front door fly open, and the screen door clapped violently against the siding. I sat up. My hands were shaking so bad I dropped my phone. The flashlight beam spun across the ceiling, then the floor. That's when I saw it. On the floor, maybe 2 feet from the bed. One of my mom's kitchen knives. The heavy carving knife she usually keeps tucked in the back of the drawer. 8-inch blade, black handle. I recognized it immediately. It was just lying there, blade facing the bed. They had been in my kitchen. They had opened my drawers while I slept, and they had done it with a terrifying, surgical silence. I hadn't heard a thing. I grabbed my phone and called 911. My voice didn't sound like mine. I could barely get the words out. 2 people in my house. They ran. There's a knife. Please send someone. The sheriff's deputy didn't show up for nearly 40 minutes. That wait was the longest of my life. He walked through the house, checked the front door, unlocked, no sign of forced entry, and asked me if I was sure I'd locked it before bed. I told him yes. But then I remembered the spare key hidden under the porch planter. It was gone. He wrote it down, but I could tell he didn't believe me. When my parents got home Sunday afternoon, I told them everything. My mom hugged me. My dad checked all the locks, walked the property. But later I heard him tell my mom he thought I'd probably just forgotten to lock the door, that maybe I'd had a nightmare and the knife had been there from earlier in the day, that I'd scared myself, but I didn't forget, and the knife wasn't there earlier. I know what I saw. I still live here. I don't have anywhere else to go yet, but I check the closet every single night now, multiple times, and I put a chair under my doorknob before I go to sleep. I haven't told anyone else about this until now, because the worst part isn't that 2 people broke in. It's that they were standing over me with a knife, and I have no idea how long they were there before I woke up, or why they didn't do anything when they had the chance. I keep deleting and rewriting this, but I need to get it out somewhere before I convince myself I'm paranoid. This started about 4 months ago in Cleveland, Ohio. I'm 26, and I just moved into my first solo apartment after a pretty messy breakup. Studio, 3rd floor, decent neighborhood near campus. I work remotely as a graphic designer, which means I'm home a lot. My routine's pretty predictable. Morning coffee run to the Starbucks 2 blocks over, groceries at Kroger on Wednesdays, Chipotle maybe twice a week, because I still can't cook for myself. I liked the routine. It felt like proof I could do things on my own. The apartment was supposed to be a fresh start. New place, new lease, no shared anything. I didn't even tell my ex where I moved. I was careful about that, but I forgot one thing. My fitness app still had my GPS route set to public. By the time I realized it and deleted the account, I was already pulling into my parents' driveway. He must have seen the update in real time. So when things started feeling off, I told myself I was just on edge from the breakup, that I was seeing threats where there weren't any. It started with a guy in a gray hoodie. I noticed him in the parking lot outside my building one night when I was coming home from a late-night grocery run. He was leaning against an ocean gray sedan, scrolling on his phone. I didn't think much of it. People wait for friends, for Ubers, whatever. But then I saw him again 2 nights later. Same spot, same car, same gray hoodie. This time he wasn't on his phone. He was just standing there, hands in his pockets, facing the building. I told myself it was a coincidence. Maybe he lived in the building. Maybe he worked nearby. Cleveland isn't that big. You see the same people sometimes. I didn't want to be that woman who assumes every man is dangerous just because he exists in her vicinity. But my stomach didn't agree. It felt tight every time I walked to my car. Over the next 2 weeks, I saw the sedan 4 more times. Different times of day, morning, late afternoon. Once at nearly midnight when I got home from a friend's place. Always parked in a spot with a clear view of the building entrance. I started taking pictures of the license plate on my phone. I don't know why. Just in case. The gray hoodie guy wasn't always there, but the car was. Ocean gray, older model Nissan Altima, dent in the front passenger side fender. I memorized it without meaning to. Then came the moment I couldn't explain away. I was at a Chipotle nearly 40 minutes from my apartment, in a town I had no reason to be in, other than a random errand I'd run on a whim. I was standing in line, waiting to order when I saw him. Gray hoodie, same guy, standing at the pickup counter, not looking at me, but there, in a Chipotle nowhere near my building, nowhere near any logical overlap in our routines. My hands went cold. My chest locked up. I left without ordering. I called the non-emergency police line that night, told them everything, the car, the sightings, the Chipotle. The officer who came to my apartment was polite, but clear. Unless he'd threatened me, followed me in a way I could prove, or made contact, there wasn't much they could do. Sitting in a car in a public lot isn't a crime. Shopping at Chipotle isn't a crime. He told me to document everything, avoid being alone when possible, and call 911 if the guy ever approached me. Then he left. After that, I saw the sedan almost every day. Sometimes in the morning when I left for my coffee run, sometimes at night. Once, I looked out my window at 3 a.m. because I couldn't sleep and it was there. Parked under the streetlight, engine off, no one inside that I could see. I stopped opening my blinds during the day. I started ordering groceries instead of going to Kroger. I felt like I was losing my mind. Then, about 3 weeks ago, I came home from a friend's place around 9 p.m. When I unlocked my apartment door, I noticed something white that had been slid through the narrow gap under my door. A folded piece of paper. I picked it up. My hands were shaking so hard I almost dropped it. The message was typed, not handwritten, cold, clinical black ink on a white page. You should really close your blinds at night. No signature. No other words. Just that. I didn't stay there that night. I grabbed my laptop, my phone charger, and a change of clothes and drove straight to my parents' house 2 hours away. I called my landlord the next morning and told him I was breaking my lease. I used a temporary P.O. box for the paperwork. I wasn't taking any more chances. I didn't care about losing my deposit. I didn't care about anything except getting out. I filed another police report. They took the note, said they'd look into it, but I could tell from their faces nothing was going to come of it. No threats, no direct contact, just a note. I've been staying with my parents for 2 weeks now. I thought I'd feel safer here, and I did for the first few days. I slept through the night for the first time in a month. I stopped checking over my shoulder every time I left the house. But yesterday afternoon, I was driving back from the grocery store and I saw it. That same Nissan Altima. The same dent in the fender. The same nightmare. Parked on the street 3 blocks from my parents' neighborhood. I didn't stop. I drove past it, hands locked on the steering wheel, eyes straight ahead. When I got home, I checked the street from my parents' front window. The car was gone. I don't know what he wants. I don't know how he found me again. And the worst part is, I can't prove any of this is connected. The police can't do anything until he does something. So now I'm here writing this because I need someone else to know. In case something happens. In case that car shows up again. In case the next note he leaves isn't just a suggestion about my blinds. I'm scared to do anything that involves leaving the house. I'm debating getting the police involved again. But there's not much I'd be able to tell them that I haven't already said. Hopefully this is where this story ends.
The scariest part of these stories isn't the moment the door opens or the car appears. It's the realization that the feeling of being watched doesn't go away once the video ends. For Annabel, for the woman in the woods, and for the designer in Cleveland, the world became a smaller, darker place the moment they realized they weren't alone. We like to think our homes are our sanctuaries, but as we've seen tonight, sometimes the most dangerous people are the ones we let in, and the most persistent are the ones who refuse to leave. If you have a story of an encounter with the uninvited, please share it in the comments below or send it to our email in the description. Your experience might be the warning someone else needs to hear. Before you head to sleep tonight, do yourself a favor. Double-check the deadbolt. Look in the back seat of your car. And please, close your blinds. Thank you for watching with The Uninvited Ones. We'll see you in the shadows next time.